Okay, 49ers update as we are, what, 4 or 5 days out from Seattle. The 49ers announced yesterday that they are releasing veteran wide receiver Russell Gage with the intention of re-signing him to the practice squad. This is interesting on a number of levels because they're essentially swapping Russell Gage for MVS. Marquez Valdes-Scantling was promoted to the 53-man roster from the practice squad following the release of Russell Gage. So they're essentially just swapping spots. Um, could be contract related. Obviously, there's times when a player's contract becomes fully guaranteed if he is activated to the 53-man roster. At the same time, MVS's contract is around the vet minimum since the Seahawks guaranteed his deal when they signed him. Um, could be a procedural move to help the Niners save anywhere from 700,000 to roughly $1 million. And again, the 49ers intend on re-signing Russell Gage if he does not sign somewhere else. So Purdy's going to be throwing to both, you know, could be throwing to both Russell Gage and MVS this Sunday in Seattle. Um, so, obviously why it affects and impacts the 49ers financially. Both receivers should be on the active roster come Sunday if Gage does not sign somewhere else. So I thought that was a pretty interesting move. I'm not surprised that MVS was promoted to the 53-man roster. When they initially signed him, nobody knew it was to the practice squad, and I think that was surprising in its own, especially given how decimated and depleted the 49ers wide receiver room is. Um, but in other news, Jauan Jennings was back at practice. The 49ers announced on Labor Day, actually, they didn't necessarily announce it. He was seen on the practice field back at practice. But he was back at practice, which is a big boost going into week one. Um, obviously, Jauan Jennings was dealing with the calf injury, but he also had the contract situation going on. So for him to be back on the practice field, I think is huge. Obviously, the 49ers have not come to an agreement on an extension for Jennings. Obviously, it's, it can mean one of two things. He genuinely really was dealing with a calf injury and he was trying to get healthy and it had nothing to do with the contract. Um, or maybe his agent, Drew Rosenhaus, was like, look, now is not your time to get an extension. You need to play out this year on your current contract, and then we can revisit the conversation after this year into next offseason. I don't know what's going on with Jennings. All I know is that he's back at practice, and that is a big moral boost to the 49ers going into week one. I started thinking late last week, wasn't sure if he was going to play. Especially dealing with the contract, and then you got the calf injury, which can linger, more so than other injuries can. Um, I'm assuming he's going to be out there week one. He dapped up John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan at practice, so doesn't seem to be, you know, turmoil between the two parties. I don't know. I don't know what's going on. I don't really care what's going on as long as he's out there week one, because the 49ers will definitely need him week one. And I feel a lot better about our chances of winning this game Sunday if Jennings is out on the field. So that was obviously good news for the Niners. In other news, some other notable players that were back on the practice field. Dominic Pooney, who was dealing with the MCL sprain, injured his knee against the Raiders in the preseason game. Um, Kalia Davis, Yetur Gross-Matos, who has also been nursing an injury for the last month or so. He barely has been on the field this offseason practicing, if at all. So obviously happy to get him back. They need depth at defensive line. So knowing, that Gross Matos is back, um, and that, Kalia Davis is back. That's a very good sign for the depth of this defensive line going into week one. So interested to see what happens with Jennings. Again, I mean, at this point, I think he plays week one. I don't know why he wouldn't play. For him to be back at practice, during a game week is huge. He looked to be fine. It looks like the calf injury is not going to be, and doesn't look like it's going to be a problem going into week one. Now, is there a chance that he could re-aggravate it? Absolutely. I mean, that's every injury with every player, but knowing that he's back seems to be in good spirits, even though he's, in the midst of wanting a contract extension. It's just good news. Um, even Trent Williams had some thoughts on him returning. He said, Jauan is a hell of a player, one of the best on our team. Having him out there is really important. There is a business side to it. So, you let it work out and go from there. So, yeah, I mean, big moral boost for the Niners going into week one. Yeah, we'll see what happens. Another note too, Kendrick Bourne, who was released by the Patriots, who I talked about in my most recent video, said that I wouldn't be shocked if the 49ers signed him. He took a visit with the 49ers on Monday. The 49ers offered him a deal, but it wasn't accepted, and he left without a deal. And now he's going to meet with the Commanders to potentially join them. So I don't know what's going to happen with that. Obviously, I'd be more than happy to sign Kendrick Bourne, just given it being a depth piece and given how, again, decimated the wide receiver room is. Don't know if that's going to happen. Again, he left without a deal on Monday. It was reported that the 49ers had a deal on the table for Kendrick Bourne. Um, they submitted a formal offer, but no deal was reached. And now Kendrick Bourne yesterday visited the Commanders, which seems to be like that there was no deal that was accepted yesterday with the Commanders either. So that's going to be a situation to watch as we kind of go into week one. We'll see what happens. But yeah, big updates, great injury news. Obviously, you know, the guys that are back at practice, Dominique Pooney is crucial. Jennings is crucial going into week one. Gross-Matos, having him back just to have another key rotational piece, within the defensive line is massive. So, yeah, let me know what you guys think of this in the comments down below. We're getting really close to week one. I mean, like I said, number one, I mean, opening game is tomorrow, Dallas and Philly, and then you got the Brazil game with the Chargers and the Chiefs on Friday. Um, and then yeah, I mean Sunday's going to be here before we know it, and super pumped. This is a rebound year for the Niners, and they have to make the playoffs. Simple as that. A lot of youth on this team, a lot of players that are, going to have to step up. So super pumped. Cannot wait to watch this team week in and week out. But yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on these moves and the injury updates in the comments down below. As always, go Niners. I'll see you guys in the next one.